This time we'll call the meeting of August 3rd, 2015 to order. Councilmember Gomez, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready, salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clower?
Here.
Councilmember Gomez?
Here.
Mayor Velasquez?
Here.
Councilmember Friend?
Present.
Councilmember Luna?
Present.
City Manager Avera?
Present.
City Attorney Sullivan?
Present.
Chief of Police Westrick?
Here.
Is that everyone?
The agenda for the City Council of the City of Hollister regular meeting of August 3rd, 2015 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on July 29th, 2015 at 3 p.m. for Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have three proclamations, one for the National Health Center Week, August 9th through the 15th, Breastfeeding Awareness Month for August, Farm Worker Health Day. Are those groups here? Farm workers? Or I'm sorry, the
She's here for all three.
National Health first.
I'm here for all three.
You're here for all three. Wow, you are awesome.
Same, yeah.
We'll do one at a time. First one, National Health Center Week, August 9th through the 15th of 2015. Whereas for 50 years, America's community health centers have provided high-quality, cost-effective, and accessible primary and preventative care to all individuals, regardless of insurance status or ability to pay. Now therefore, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim August 9th through the 15th, 2015, to be National Health Center Week in the City of Hollister. Here's your first one. You can say a few words on that one.
Well, I would like to, Angelica Rojas wasn't able to be here, but I'm present for her. I would like to invite everyone to come to these events. It's actually going to be on the 13th of August. The breastfeeding walk is going to be in the morning, up until I think 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the event for the whole community from 3 to 6.
Well, speaking of breastfeeding, we'll do the next one. Breastfeeding Awareness Month. Whereas all available knowledge indicates that human milk optimally enhances the growth, development, and well-being of the infant by providing the best possible nutrition and protection against serious health conditions, including obesity, diabetes, and allergies. And now, therefore, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim August 2015 as Breastfeeding Awareness Month in the City of Hollister, in order to actively promote breastfeeding as the optimum and preferred method of infant feeding and as our community's cultural norm. Do you want to speak on that one, or you covered that one?
That's fine.
We'll go to the next one. Farm Workers Health Day. Whereas an estimated 3 to 5 million migrant and seasonal farm workers are employed in the nation's multi-billion-dollar agriculture industry, and whose backbreaking labor makes possible the production and harvest of many crops. And now, therefore, I, Ignacio Velasquez, Mayor of the City of Hollister, do hereby proclaim that the 13th of August, 2015, is hereby proclaimed Farm Workers Health Day in the City of Hollister.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll move forward with the consent resolution. Are there any items from council that would like to be pulled?
Excuse me. A8.
A8. Do we have any cards on any of the items?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Item A8.
Good evening. Item A8 is a resolution that will approve plans and specifications and authorize staff to call for bids for the city fiber project. It's a project that was approved in the capital improvement project program, approved last November in 2014. Currently, the city's paying about $44,000 a year to keep the yard, which includes utilities, the animal shelter, and all the different departments there connected, plus also the domestic wastewater treatment plant. What this will do is install conduit and fiber to all these locations. It will go from City Hall. It will actually drop a fiber into the Dunn Park building, continue through city streets, connect into to our corporation yard. At the same time, we'll be pushing at least a blank conduit at this time over to our South Street water well. From the yard, we'll continue headed out towards the domestic plant, and at the same time run a fiber over to the Brigantino Park, the spray fields out there. That's so that we can have communications throughout all that area. We'll eliminate the $44,000 a year charge from charter and have much better service. We'll have additional capability. We'll have more than just two fiber lines going to the yard and out to the domestic plant. So with that, any questions?
So this is going to run a fiber optic cable to the police department?
Police department has already been connected through fiber. We did that with a joint project.
That's why I was asking the question. I remember them being part of the...
Yeah, we already did that with a joint project with the county, where we connected the police department, jointly the sheriffs, their public works, a number of different city and county buildings to the county administration office, where their NOC is, where their fibers go in and make connections, and it also continued into City Hall. So pretty much everything, once this project's approved, pretty much everything will be on fiber with the exception of Fire Station 2. That will be another project. We're actually getting through pre-planning. We're having developers who connect, who are developing along the way, put in fiber conduit for future use, so that it'll minimize our costs.
My question is in today's world, having a landline run to every situation, isn't that kind of 2002? I mean,
Well, fiber
can't we
conduit,
do this cheaper using cell technology?
we'll let the expert talk.
Good evening, everyone. Paul De Silva, IT manager for the city. Your question regarding Wi-Fi everywhere, basically to get to the communications between City Hall and the yard and the treatment plant. Currently, we have Wi-Fi or wireless connection going from City Hall to Fire Station 2. We did that using some of the equipment we've had in use over the years from City Hall to the Briggs building. And we were able to get off a charter fiber connection there using that equipment. And they wanted to charge like $2,000 a month for that use. What we're proposing is basically finishing out the backbone the way we have it from the police department to City Hall and connecting all the other city buildings. This will pretty much finish off to the west end, where we can get to the yard, we can get to the treatment plant, which is currently on charter right now. Then we're paying them monthly for that connection.
I understand you want to get off a charter, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm just thinking, why don't we have all the locations hooked up by Wi-Fi instead of?
Well, 'cause fiber actually is pretty solid once it's in the ground. It's basically limitless as far as speed and connection. It only is limited to whatever the equipment is on either end. Wireless, you need the wireless connection, you need the microwave dishes, its equipment, cost per year, maintenance per year. That equipment needs to get upgraded after, every few years for technology. We looked in as part of last couple years when I was looking at getting off a charter at the yard and the treatment plant. It was going to cost like almost $50,000 in wireless equipment just to get out to those locations. It was actually cheaper to stay with charter at the time. And so what we're trying to do is finish off the backbone to keep the city locations all connected to the central hub, which is City Hall, so that all the departments can get to their financial systems, SCADA system, and all that kind of stuff. And along with that, it's continuation of the fiber count that we have out in cooperation with the county, in partnership with the county, to continue extra fiber out that direction, which eventually, if we wanted to go out to San Juan or San Juan Oaks or wherever there's development, that we can actually have an ISP or internet service provider piggyback on leasing some of that fiber, some of that conduit in the future. There will be fiber available for that.
Okay. Do you have any idea what this is going to cost?
About $250,000.
Oh, I see.
Estimated about $250,000.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions from council? Question I have for you is, we did run the line to the police department. Are we working with any of the companies out there that can use that fiber line now?
I'm working with a company who's interested in coming in and providing internet service to the area.
To industrial
to
area?
Hollister, basically. So they would be in competition with Charter and AT&T. They are interested in leasing some of the fiber. We haven't gotten into deep discussions on that. But the opportunity is there. We do have the fiber there for them to tap into. So.
Can we offer that same service for the residents going down towards Dunn Park and the other areas? Is that something that's possible too?
As long as there's a service provider, because the city doesn't have the equipment or the capability of being
But the fiber's
provider
there.
itself of internet access to business.
Right.
But if there is a company that wants to come in and utilize the fiber in that area, even if it's providing Wi-Fi at Dunn Park or Brigantino or any of that kind of sort of thing, they'll have the capability of doing
So
that.
there's the potential to eventually bring a provider in, and they'll have the fiber to do with,
Yes.
to give us better service,
It'll be
our residents.
It'll be similar to what we've got going out towards the PD and airport.
Okay. Do we have any speaker cards? Is that all your questions?
I'll make a motion to approve A8.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. B, there is no business. C, public input. This is the time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. When the city clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the city council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the city council from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards?
Julie Vieira.
Okay. I'm Julie Vieira. I'm the President and CEO of the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. I am here on behalf of the Chamber members and all business owners within our city. I recently had the enlightening task of applying for a sign permit with the City of Hollister. Where I appreciate there are rules to be followed and inspections to be done, we need to make this process less taxing on our local businesses. On July 22nd, I went to the City Planning Department to pick up a sign permit application. On July 23rd, with my completed application, a check for $42, 4 colored copies of sign plans, plus 4 copies of sign specifications, I returned to the Planning Department. The employee at the desk told me I was given the wrong application and that the fee had increased by $1.50. That wasn't all. She asked me if I had been to the engineering department to get my encroachment permit. I replied, no, I was not told when I picked up the sign permit application that I also needed an encroachment permit from the engineering department. So later that afternoon, I went to the engineering department to get my encroachment permit. I did not even think that I would need another colored copy of the sign plan and the sign specifications, along with another check for $663. $163 for the encroachment permit and a $500 surety fee, which will be refunded after the work is completed and inspected. On July 27th, I finally had another chance to visit the engineering department to pay my $663 and received my encroachment permit. The following day, I stopped at the planning department thinking I finally had everything together, but that was not to be. I was again told there was yet another form to fill out, and guess what? Another fee. By this time, I was not happy, and Billy knows that I gave him a little call. On July 29th, I returned to the planning department with my check for $79.26. So 8 days, $785.76 later, 3 trips to the city planning department and 2 trips to the engineering department on Park Hill, I had my permit so the chamber could hang a blade sign 48 inches by 12 inches on the outside of our building. How many small businesses can afford $785.76 in fees and hours of their time to complete this process? If we want our city to look uniform when we drive down the streets and we want and claim to be business friendly, this process needs to change. Nothing about this process is business friendly or economically feasible for many of our small businesses. I explained to the company designing our sign what I had to go through to complete the process. Their words were, "That is why we have the customer deal with the city." So if we want our cake, nice signs on our streets and businesses, and eat it too, a fee to make it happen, I'm asking the city manager, the city planning department, the city engineer, the city attorney, the council members, and please make this process easier and more economical, and please train your staff to give businesses all the information they need on their first visit to the city planning department. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I needed a prop.
Do we have any other speakers?
Marty Richmond?
I just came for the cupcake. Marty Richmond from Hollister. And my word is my bond, and I give you my word, I had no idea what Julie was going to say when she got up here. So if you think this is a setup, you're absolutely wrong. I'm shocked, but I want to thank her for the perfect introduction, because I was busy this weekend driving around town, especially up where I live, and what I find is people are just going into business. They call themselves having a yard sale, but they're having a yard sale every weekend. If you're having a yard sale every weekend and the stock you're selling keeps getting bigger and newer and it's in boxes from China, you're not having a yard sale, you're in business. And as far as getting a sign permit, they don't bother. They just go down to the stop sign, every stop sign up there in that part of town on the way up by Sierra Vista, and just hang signs all over it, which is illegal, as I've brought forth to you guys several times. It's against the state law to hang a sign on any traffic control device, be it a light or a stop sign or anything else. And I have warned the city time and again, and I understand it's just like everything else. We're not going to do anything until after we've had our lesson. And our lesson might be a $10 million lawsuit, because someone is going to run one of those stop signs, and whether they're being honest or not, if they kill somebody, the first thing you're going to say is, I was distracted because that sign had 15 signs hanging all over it in different colors. It didn't even look like a stop sign to me. It just looked like a pole with signs on it. We've got people setting up all over town that are basically setting up businesses and calling themselves yard sales. We've got to get a regulation that controls yard sales. And if we had some enforcement, we could charge people a nominal fee, not a lot of money, that will pay for some enforcement. And the first thing the enforcement people should do is go around and say, if you don't have this and you don't give me my $5 permit fee, you're going to get a $35 ticket, because it's a lot worse than parking overtime, and that's what you get for parking overtime. This is ridiculous. I didn't move here to be living in some third world country where everybody who wants to be in business and doesn't want to deal with the city just goes in business on their front lawn. That's ridiculous. There are people who legitimately need to sell things. If they're moving, they can get a special permit. We should give them a special permit to allow more sales. We should take care of the people who need it. But if people are in business, and there's a guy at this corner of Memorial, and you all know where he is at Sunset, who used to sell just fishing rods. This guy's got the biggest collection of fishing rods in the world. Now he's selling lamps too, and he's selling other stuff too. I don't understand it. Our business people are paying a fortune in permitting fees, and these folks are going without permits, without inspections, paying no taxes, and they're just going in business in residential areas. And I object. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
There are no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item D1, City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things. I want to thank Julie for at least buying cupcakes if she's going to blast us. That's really, really nice. I will do everything in my power to make sure that, as you know, customer service has always kind of been my key thing, especially in the planning department. And when we have somebody that didn't have a good experience with that particular department, I do take that very personal. So we'll try to make sure that we do something a little bit different, and we'll try to do our best to make sure that it becomes more of a one-stop shop, so to speak. And as we move forward into the future, I think we're doing everything we can to sort of consolidate and make sure that all the departments are at least near each other. Hopefully we get to that point sometime. With Mr. Richmond's statement about the garage sales, I believe it may be 4 or 5 years ago now. I'm not exactly sure if somebody remembers. We brought forth some ordinances or proposed ordinances, and it may have been actually part of the zoning code when we went through that, about the number of garage sales an individual can have a year. And we did, Ray raised his fingers at 4, and we talked about doing 1 per quarter or 4 a year, not necessarily permitting them as Marty has suggested in the past, but just regulating that to make sure that what is happening in some locations doesn't happen. The council at that time, I believe, didn't feel that was an appropriate sort of ordinance or code. If this particular council would like to see us move forward with something like that, please feel free to provide us direction. We can begin drafting some language to bring back to you, having some sort of limit or regulations on the number of garage sales that a property can have on an annual basis. With that said, I'm really honored today to, I was present at a swearing in of our new fire chief, Chief Bob Martin Del Campo, who's in the back row. Today is actually his first day. And he's here, so apparently he didn't quit, so that's actually a good thing for us.
He'll learn not to come.
Yeah, he'll learn. And I know Chief Geringer isn't here But I just really wanted to thank him for the last few months. He's helped me a lot. I think he's gotten a lot done and accomplished over at the fire department during his last few months, and I think he actually really enjoyed his time as well, which also makes it nice to know that that we're not half bad, despite what Julie thinks. We're good. I'm kidding. That's it for me. Oh, if there's some direction on the garage sale,
I would like to ask the staff to come back to us with that ordinance. And one of the things Marty brought up was how do we police it? And I think the idea of a nominal fee permit would give us an accountability as to if the same person comes in more than 4 times a year and wants to buy that permit, then we know when that we've got some sort of tracking method that we could possibly not have to have somebody drive around every weekend checking. Oh, they had one 2 weeks ago, they had one a month ago, and keep it.
Okay.
If they want to have a garage sale, in other cities, I know you have to go to the city and get a permit.
There are some cities that, yes, do that.
So I think that would be one way to look at that. If they could pay to have it in the paper and advertise it, they can put a fee up. And with that, the instructions that Marty's talking about the signs, because I see them all the time, and I've taken them down and people get a little upset. Because I think that might be even a violation of law that I go take those signs down. But
no, I was going to suggest that too. I mean, it is a little bit easier, and I wouldn't recommend anybody going out and taking down signs because you don't know what you may run into. But I have on several occasions taken signs off of posts around my house at the intersections when I'm out and about. You're absolutely, they don't need to be there, and it is safety. So if you do take one down, don't feel bad. It's not supposed to be there.
I don't feel bad.
No, I know.
Don't want to confront somebody.
Yeah, no, and that's the rough part, is I don't want to sit here and tell people to go out and do it, because I won't care if they do it, but I'm not telling you to do it. Is it consensus from the group to go ahead and bring something? Some draft language, yes? Okay.
Yeah, some draft language. I would say, we did talk about this last year about the fines for people who are leaving those are putting the signs up. So that's already in place, but we're not enforcing it. That's, I think, the issue here is we can create all the ordinances we want, but if we're not enforcing any of it, what good is it doing? And like all of you, we see it every week, and it drives me crazy to see the same signs up. One weekend, I know we have our code enforcement spending a Saturday every other week or every 2 weeks out there. It's just time to do what we already did. I mean, it's out there. We can enforce this. The public shouldn't have to put up with the same signs every week, and I think most of the public is probably pretty frustrated, as we are, on the same things reoccurring. And I've seen the garage sales during the week. This is not hard to figure out.
No, they start on Friday now. Yeah.
No, they start Monday through Monday.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So
I haven't seen Monday.
I have seen them, and it's a pretty simple thing. We know it's happening. We just need somebody to stop and put it into it. And if people don't want to learn and they want to pay a fine for putting that sign up, so be it. They can pay the fine.
I do have one more thing.
One more comment.
While we've got you up against the wall.
Me? Oh, okay.
I would like to see if the council would recommend you write a letter in support of the FM station that we're trying to get involved in.
For an agenda to be adopted by?
For the adoption by and signed by the mayor next.
Is that okay with everybody? Yes? Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Now that we've cleared up the garage sale issue, item D2, please.
That was quick and easy.
Mayor Velasquez and members of the council. It's been a while since I've given you a status report, but we have some good news tonight. And progress. So as I say, we give you a status report and a progress report tonight. The first thing is that we had I think, informed everyone that we were going to advertise for bids to construct the West Hills Water Treatment Plant on the property that overlooks Riverside Road. And we received bids, and they were opened on the 29th. And we have the listing of bidders that I'll give you an indication of who they are. They're reputable companies known to us and our consultants. The low bidder was Auburn Constructors for a bid of $23,736,300. So I don't know out of 23 million why we have a $300 item, but in any case, they're the low bid. The next low was Mountain Cascade, $24,740,000, and the high bid was Western Water at $26,740
Million.
million.
If not, we'll take it.
I agree. So the engineer's estimate, we don't call them engineer's estimate anymore. It's opinion of probable construction cost. And that number is 23 million even. So the winning bidder was $736,300, over that about 2%. And we think that's well within the range of reasonable accuracy and costs. Auburn Constructors is well known to our designer, HDR, as a reputable firm, and our construction manager, Dahl Consultants, has worked with them on 3 successful jobs previously. So we're pleased that Auburn is the low bidder, and we plan to award most likely on the 12th, which is next week, and at a special board meeting of the San Benito County Water District. So they have a combination of 15 and 10 days, they being Auburn, to begin construction. They have to submit some more insurance forms that we review, and then we have 10 days to evaluate them and return them, and we're hopeful that construction will begin then probably very early in September. And that's a benefit because we hear rumors that there's going to be an El Nino, and we have a big hole in this project that's in the ground and we don't want it filling up. Any questions so far?
Sounds good so far. Any questions from council?
The next item is the Chromium 6 issue. And to refresh your memory, the state promulgated a regulation that requires that the drinking water contain less than 10 parts per billion of chromium 6. There's 2 things that are related there. Number one, the federal government has a requirement that the chromium be limited to 100 parts per billion, but that's total chromium. So this is California is the only state that has such a rigorous and strict regulation. The second part of this is that we then are hopeful that there'll be some relief given by some legislation at the state level, not to reduce the requirement, but to buy us more time to, in effect, create a solution and implement a program for reducing the amount of chromium 6. But in anticipation of no relief, we asked HDR, with your agreement, to prepare a plan for the options that would be reasonable to reduce the level of chromium so you'd be in compliance. There are several other cities in the state that are facing this exact problem. They have finished their draft report. I have read it, and we are ready now to meet with your committee, which includes you, Mayor Velasquez, and you, council member Friend. And we're hopeful that we could meet also on the same day of the bid awards, but here at the City Hall. So we'd like to brief you on the findings of that, and then if you agree on this, then we can make a full-blown presentation to the full council.
Go ahead.
I don't have any problem with the meeting date or anything. I'm just, I remember the report you're talking about is the one where they were gonna do some pilot drilling and testing at different levels so we know where we are?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. All of that. To give you a preview of that particular one, because that was one of the schemes, was to hopefully find a zone in existing wells where we could seal it off, limit the amount of chromium-6, and the first well tests indicate that that's likely not an alternative, but we will present the details to you.
Okay.
I will be out of town.
That's a bad answer. Can we ask Bill then to work with you on selecting a date to meet?
Absolutely.
Hopefully as soon as possible. We'd like to button this up and move forward.
Okay.
We could do it this week sometime.
If you can do it this week.
The afternoon of the 6th, we have the morning all tied up, the afternoon.
I don't think HDR will be ready until
Oh, they won't
next
be ready,
week.
okay.
All right.
We'll talk and get a date put together.
Yeah, just if you could work to develop a date. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harry.
Item E, no business. Item F1.
Good evening again. Item F1 is the adoption of an ordinance that was introduced on July 20th, 2015. And this is an change in the ordinance for no parking, a no parking time zone on Monterey Street at San Benito High School. This item will create a no parking zone, or actually a 3-hour parking zone on Monterey, on the west side of Monterey, adjacent to San Benito High School. It'll be from the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. So this item will be adoption of the ordinance, and then once adopted, I believe it's 30 days for it to become enacted. So with that, if there's any questions.
Any questions from council? Any speaker cards?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 1120.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item F2.
Or do you want to do it?
I just want to make a motion to approve.
At our last council meeting, it was a consensus of the council to have a legislative recess in July of 2016. So we bring this forward to you today.
Okay, any comments from council or questions? Councilmember
Yeah,
Luna?
Yeah, just a comment. I know that we have some ad hoc committee meetings during July with other agencies, and one of the reasons that we were not around as well. So if we are not going to have a meeting, the city council will not be having a meeting during July. Are we still tied in to attend those meetings, you know?
It was kind of written to where we wouldn't have any Planning Commission, Recreation Commission, Airport Commission, council meetings, and that city council members would not be attending ad hoc committee meetings for that month.
Good, thanks for the clarification.
Thank you. Councilmember Friend?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. We signed up to work 12 months a year. Why are we taking a month off?
Okay.
Because Victor said.
Councilman,
Just to make
Councilmember-
it easy for staff. you know,
Councilmember
give them
Clower?
suggestions.
Yeah, I disagree with this on philosophical reasons mostly, just because there's not a whole lot of other entities that get to just take a month off when they want to. But also from the practical aspect that if you're a developer and you missed your June date for the Planning Commission meeting, there's no meeting in July, you gotta wait all the way to August, you're talking 60 days to get something seen by the Planning Commission. It'd be 40 to 45 days for anything to come in front of us. I have a problem with those timelines. It takes us long enough to do anything as it is, and I don't think adding another 2 weeks on to the summertime is gonna help, so I'm not in favor of this. But I would say that I would be in favor of a resolution that cancels the first meeting in January every year and cancels the first meeting in July every year. That's my olive branch.
Okay. Any other comments from council? Are there any speaker cards on this item?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Nope.
Motion passes 4-1 vote. Move forward to item G1, report from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Luna?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Wednesday, the 29th of July, I attended the Gang Prevention Policy Committee meeting, and we had a quorum. And it was a very, very good meeting. We even had an audience. So I was glad that meeting happened. And then on Thursday, July the 30th, at the Hollister Community Center, I really want to thank the planning staff, Mary and Abraham, for being there. And we gathered about maybe 25, 27 members of the West Side community to come in. And Mary presented the West Gateway Streetscape Plan. Very interesting. They had a lot of questions. We had a questionnaire for the residents that attended, and I believe Mary got those back. So it was very interesting, and people were very motivated that actually something was going to happen on the west side of town. So I'm hoping that we can continue after a while to have another meeting, because I think the word is already out that there's some action and that's going to happen on that side of town. So I just wanted to report on those two.
Thank you. Councilmember Friend?
No, I took the month of July off. I didn't go to any meetings.
That was good. Councilmember Gomez?
I actually did, but I'm not retired right now. I actually did take the month of July off. I don't have any committee resolutions.
Councilmember Clower?
No meetings.
I actually joined Councilmember Luna for the gang task force in taking your
It's 'cause
place.
I took it off.
You took it off?
Thank you.
Really some interesting ideas coming out of the gang task force, new ways of looking at, rather than suspending students, work on a program to bring them back together, keep them in school, rather than putting them back on the streets. A lot of great ideas. I'm looking forward to hearing more of what's going on there. It was a very interesting meeting, so thank you everyone involved with that meeting. Let's move forward to item G2, informational reports from City Council. Councilmember Luna?
Yes, I attended the Election Advisory Group Committee as a committee that has regrouped at the Hall of Records at the old courthouse on July the 28th. They welcome anybody that wants to come in. There's a lot of important information on elections and upcoming events with the Elections Department. So that was interesting. I also wanted to report that on Thursday, August the 6th, at Hartnell College from 9 to 12, Assemblymember Luis Alejo is presenting a business tax credit workshop. And that is, it sounds like, I mean, it's going to be very interesting for any business that might be interested in attending or sending someone, or even city council members, community members. It's free. And so again, it's on Thursday the 6th at Hartnell College. And I received also an invitation to attend a publisher meet and greet on Saturday, August 22nd at the Heavenly Bakery. And this is to actually be able to speak to the publisher of the local newspaper and maybe voice our opinions or concerns. And so that is on Saturday. One thing that I want to say tonight is, you see a young lady sitting in the back of that room, Carla Vasquez. You know, she's been here 2 or 3 times just to come as a student. The high school's not even, they haven't gone back to the high school, but she's going to be a senior. She's very interested in being a youth committee member for council advisory. And if we see young people in the audience are just coming forward, you know, I really appreciate that. And so I'm passing her name on to council member friend in case, you know, that you would like to speak with her. Carla's here. Thank you, Carla, for coming.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Friend?
I was just going to mention, I'm glad to hear that your sister graduated and is in college, and that's probably why I haven't been able to get a hold of her. But I'm glad you're here to take her place, and I will be meeting with you very soon, because we need to get this kicked off and get started. So, thank you.
Councilmember Gomez?
Yeah, the only thing I want to say is congratulations to the new chief. I apologize for not being there this morning. I left Hollister like at 6 in the morning. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it, but just wanted to share my congratulations and welcome back. And we hope to have you for quite a bit of time. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Clower?
Yes, 2 things. The first is that I just kind of look forward to having the conversation about the possible continuance of the sales tax measure. Hopefully that'll be maybe September. I think we need to start that conversation. That way we can kind of flesh it out a little bit and see where we're at with that. The second thing, just kind of piggybacking off of what Mr. Richmond said, is the yard signs, but signs in general in the public right-of-way. I think it's dangerous, but also doesn't look very good for the city. Yard signs, but also the new subdivision signs, they seem to kind of throw them wherever they want. And it probably doesn't bother a lot of people, but it bothers me for whatever reason. They're kind of everywhere. Some of them are probably on private property, but most of them are on the public right-of-way, and they're kind of all over the place. I don't know if we necessarily need an ordinance for that, but maybe we just send somebody to pick them all up and take them down to the yard and have them give them a call. Because there's only like 3 different subdivisions right now that have their signs out, and it's pretty easy to know who's. It points you to where the people would be. So. I'd like to see that kind of cleaned up a little bit, but that's it.
Thank you. Well, it does happen that we do have an ordinance for that. And we have an ordinance for cars on lawns, but yet I'm seeing quite a few cars still parked on lawns. Please take your cars off the lawn. It does not present our city well. It brings down your property values. It does nothing good for our community. We also seem to keep having the problem with weeds around the sound walls and in our parks. I'd like to see that plan on how we're finally going to address this once and for all. We did talk about it a month or so back, and we just need to have that plan in place so we're not scrambling each year to take weeds out. There's a lot of weeds around a lot of the schools. Kids are trying to make their way towards school, and they have to get around these bushes that want to grab at them and tear their skin apart. That goes again with the garage sale signs. We have this in place. We need to enforce these codes. These are, I think, a majority of the community would agree that these are just not good for our city. The firework ordinance, We need to start looking into what we're going to do for next year. Make sure we're going to address those that continue to fire off those illegal fireworks. To put an end to it. Again, we're not looking to fine anybody. That's not our intention. We're just looking to put an end to this. If you insist on us fining you, we'd be happy to do that for you. But it's going to be an expensive ticket, and there's no reason to be doing it. As we found out earlier this month, or last month, we had several young people hurt by those insisting on firing off illegal fireworks. Also want to recognize the young man we lost past week riding his bicycle from the skate park. Unfortunately, he did pass away. We all need to be more careful. In this town and all towns, people are driving way too fast. That was not the case, I don't believe, in this incident. But we need to put an end to this before somebody is killed by people driving too fast, or we're seeing people doing donuts in our streets. It just needs to stop. Again, we're not looking to make money from all our citizens. We're just looking to make sure you're all safe and enjoy being in your community. So please slow down.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say something. I was just wondering if we could get a report from the police chief at the next meeting regarding graffiti around the city. I've seen some, and I'm just wondering, I just would like an update as to what is being done about that, the graffiti. Okay. And on another note, if we could direct our city manager to assure that the city treasurer comes to these meetings and attends these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City manager?
I just have a couple of things. The new chief, Bob Martin Del Campo, and Chief Geringer, myself, and staff had a meeting late last week on the contracts for San Juan Bautista and San Benito County. I think where we are right now is I think we're poised to bring those to you folks to get your blessing on them. There's been just different kind of, I think there's just been a different opinion on how to move forward with that. So what I would like to do again is, since we are the organization that is contracting with, or these organizations are contracting with us for those services, I think it's prudent for us to be comfortable with the language in the contract. I'd like to prepare that for you and give that to you during a study session. I was trying to, again, have a study session sometime the week of the 10th. I understand that the mayor is off. If the next week is, if there are some days that may be available for everybody to get together, I think it's prudent that we do that so that we can present that to both the attorneys at San Benito County and San Juan Bautista for their review prior to adoption. We've taken a lot of, I think we've streamlined it quite a bit. It should be fairly simple at this point. I think we've listened to both jurisdictions and what sort of their needs and wants are, and I think that we've done everything we can to meet those, and so it should be relatively easy. So.
Are you going to make a presentation on Thursday to the fire committee?
You know what, I think on what I would be prepared to do on Thursday is I think that we can provide them at least a draft copy of something very similar to what I would be giving you folks. And I think that, yeah, so the short answer is yes.
Okay.
Let's see, there was one other thing. Then I can't think of it. I'm going to have to digress. Watch. Go ahead.
All right, city attorney?
Nothing, Mayor.
Chief?
Sorry.
Yeah, I've got a few things. A reminder to everyone, National Night Out is tomorrow night, downtown Hollister, 5 to 8 on the grassy and old 400 block of San Benito Street. Should be really nice. The San Benito Sheriff's Department has run this program for many years. The last year, we actually joined with them to help produce it. So I'm really excited. Should be really fun. Another event that will hallmark our downtown area. Secondly, this last budget year, we decided not to, or the council decided not to go with a traffic officer, which I understand obviously was a financial decision. But I think that we have an opportunity in researching this last year. I discovered that I think I can actually purchase a motorcycle for about 30 to 35% less than what was projected actually. There's a couple of places that have a special deal on them right now. So I'm going to recommend, once I study this a little bit more, to actually purchase the thing and utilize our existing training funds to train an officer and to see if we can't implement this without a budget like we did before with Neighborhood Watch and other things, to see if it actually works for us here. I think we actually need to do something, and this might be one of those things that might be the start of a really good thing. So I'll come back to council on the numbers on that as well, but it's about 35% less than what I thought it would be. Fireworks, I met with then not the chief, but almost the chief on, when was that, July 5th? July 5th we met and kind of talked about a plan that would work for next year. I think with a combination of maybe another ordinance and some dedicated patrols, specifically before the 4th, and some training, I think actually a lot of training, we might be able to make a huge dent in it this year. As you know, the police department has never really done anything with fireworks because it's been done by code enforcement and the fire marshals, which we now know that there just isn't enough of those folks to really get a handle on it. So what I think we can do next year is add probably 4 or 5 to that team and make a more concerted effort as far as that goes. And we'll talk some more about that this year, I'm sure, with council and also with the fire department. Last thing, we have WeTip here, and it's been a really great program for us, but I don't think it's as participatory as I'd like. So I'd like to look into starting a Crime Stoppers for this county, this community, and if anybody knows about Crime Stoppers, it's actually a pretty effective program, and it's about the same price, but it's a little bit more, it requires a little more local government participation in it. So I'll bring it before council and see if we can't get that going here locally. Same principle, anonymous number, but I think it allows us to utilize our own locals a little bit more. WeTip is down south, and they're great. And I wouldn't ever say go away from WeTip because it's $3,000. It's actually a pretty good program. But Crime Stoppers actually might help us do a little bit more here locally. So again, I'll present something to council in the next few months to see if we might want to do that. Thank you.
Sounds good. Interim City Clerk.
I just wanted to let the community know that we still have an opening for the Parks and Recreation Youth Commissioner. So if we're working on, instead of doing the Youth Commission Advisory, we have space available for at least one on the Parks and Rec Commission. So it could be
somebody that sits in the back row.
I have a question on that. The student, do they have to live within the city limits?
You
No,
have to live in the
they do
district that they're representing.
No, we have.
No,
I don't think they're by district.
Just
Parks and
Tower
Rec is,
Parks and Rec is a little bit
Parks
different.
citywide.
We do have non-city residents on the Park and Recreation Commission, so it would be fine.
I have 2 students that are interested, but they don't live within the city limits.
I believe they can apply, yes.
So they'll submit it to you.
Yes.
Okay.
We have the applications up front, or I
Right.
could email that to them
Okay.
if they want.
Okay.
I remember two things, speaking of parks. We swore in 2 new park commissioners at our last Park and Recreation Commission meeting, so we're happy to have them on board, and we'll be able to hopefully have a quorum on a pretty regular basis. In addition to that, I wanted to let everybody know that the Parks Department is beginning work on the new playground on Park Hill. So there's going to be some construction up there, and that'll be probably done in the next 3-4 months or so. We're building a French drain and a couple other things to make sure that the area doesn't fill up with water during rains. That was a project that was designed probably 20 years ago that just kind of sat on the shelf. So as long as we're working up there doing it, we're going to be going forward and doing that. Lastly, we had a pretty good debrief of the rally from this last year. We will be coming to you with some contract amendment stuff with HTA. I think they have some wants and needs, and I think we have some wants and needs. And I think the earlier we get that done, the better, because we keep hearing that, we wait, and then December it's too late, and then the rally's not a success because they don't have enough time. So I think our goal would be to get this done relatively early. There's a few things that we're going to ask the council to do. In addition to amending the current contract, is one, I think we want to stabilize our alcohol consumption, sales, everything at midnight on the rally nights, on Friday and Saturday nights. And I think more importantly, what we want to do, which we haven't heard a whole lot of pushback from the promoter, is having the rally to begin on the second Friday of July, regardless. So we kind of set the dates, and we have them set in stone, and we don't necessarily have to deal with the 4th of July on a Friday or a Saturday, which causes problems from a law enforcement perspective. The HDA does have a little bit of an issue with that, just because it pushes itself right up against the street festival, which is the week after. But again, for, I think, safety and everybody concerned and trying to keep costs at a minimum, I think this is probably the best route for us to go. So.
Okay. Item H, I, J, and K, there is no business. And if we can adjourn in memory of Josh Rodriguez.
So moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0 vote. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out tonight.